Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is MECH 1301 statics, right? Okay, so inshallah today will be basically the first session and will mostly be the briefing, but we will also start some portion of the beginning of the lecture. So for those who are new to IIM Gombak, then welcome to IIM Gombak. So this is for semester 1 2019 and 2020, right? And a little bit on introduction of myself also. So for this section, what section is this? 3 and 4. Right, so the lecturer is myself. My name is Muhammad Saifuddin and Muhammad Rehan. My office is in this building, E1, level 5, room 111. Okay, sorry for the technical issues. Where was that? Okay, my name is Muhammad Saifuddin. I'm a lecturer here for mechanical engineering, mechanical department, but I don't think. Huh? Yes. But you are registered in this section?
Yeah, we registered on what's the paper.
Okay. Perhaps. You just remember. I think it's not yet. When I printed this, maybe it's not yet. But I think from the student list, most of you are not from mechanical, right? Is there any mechanical, automotive or aerospace student? No, right? Do you know what major you are? I think it's mostly material, MCT, right? So it will be interesting, right? But I think from the name list, you are registered based on your course, is it? Meaning everyone from the same course appears to be on the same section. Before it's quite random, right? Anyway, just some background, just to fill in time. So I graduated here for my bachelor degree in Unit 10. I teach here for 1 semester before I run to this university, and then I did my master here in UTM Skudai. I did my PhD here in, I'm not sure if you can read this one, Institut Supérieur de l'Automobile et de Transport, it's in French. So this is France, and some picture there. And then I have been working here after my PhD from 2014. Now, so how many of you are actually a new student? Meaning new. This is the first semester in IIM Gombak. Most of you, all of you. Anyone who was not in your first semester? Okay. But I believe you have come across this one before, right? What do you think about this one? Macam bagus. Cakap lebih. Memang kencang kot. So we claim to have these two parts, right? Not only knowledge but also stress on the virtue and virtue. And I think I'm not sure. Have the dean? Do you have any session with the dean, for example? in the Taweh Ta'arif or something? No? Yes. The Dean, Prof. Faris, any session? Did he tell about the history of this kuliah of engineering? What did he talk about? Rule and regulation. What? About engineering. Well, why should you be an engineer? Itu bagaimana? Okay, because he is among the staff that have been with this kuliah from the beginning. Meaning he was in UIA, in IIM from before kuliah of engineering come into existence. Right? So not many staff that is from that time. Right? So he actually he can tell you when the kuliah was started to be, it's still an idea. Oh, we want to do kuliah of engineering because UIA started with law, with IRK, right? Islamic Religious Knowledge. So when they want to do engineering, then the question is why should we do engineering? Because we are Islamic university. So because the point is, if what we produce is just exactly like the other university that is already established, KM, UPM, just another engineer, then why should we? Because it's just the same, right? So then they say no, our engineer should have more of this, right? So the idea is like that. So in terms of the implementation or something, then you might see something in this aspect coming into what you have in this university and in this kuliah, right? Now, so there's knowledge part and there's the virtue part. So for my role as a lecturer, which part do you think I should cover? Both. So you expect me to also cover this one? I will give you, okay. Before next class, you have to memorize this ayah. No? No, you don't have? Because you say both just now. I can do both. Alright, so that part is the static part, that part is being part of the Muslim. By the way, so it's not your choice to have a morning class, right? Or is it your choice? No. Are you happy with it? Alhamdulillah. Alright, so this is, for example, the virtue, right? How many of you are familiar with this ayah? Auzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ardh wa ikhtilafil layli wan nahari la ayatin li ulil albab. الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. How many of you are familiar with this? Yeah. Right? So in the creation of the heaven and earth and the change between night and day, those are signs for ulil albab, right? Those who think. Those who remember Allah in every position, right? Sitting down, lying down, and think about the creation of samawati wal ard. And the conclusion is Rabbana ma khalaqta hadza batila, right? So Allah did not create this for nothing, right? Subhanallah, right? Now, there are many verses that sometimes we take as a justification for us to study sciences or engineering. I would say, by studying this, we get to know our Creator and we become better Muslim. Right? How many of you, for example, in your SPM, answer something like this? What's the benefit of studying science? Say, kita mengenal Tuhan. Ada anyone answer like that or no? Or did you answer? So that I can get my work and I can. Because sometimes that's the thing. We can say that theoretically we tend to have those answers, right? It brings us closer to Allah, etc. Right? How many of you actually have such experience? When you study math, mengalih mata keinsafan. Ada? Suddenly, aku kan betul Muslim macam ni. That never happened, right? Anyone have any experience like that? So what are we talking about? So that's the disconnect that most of us have, especially when we study sciences and engineering. We claim that it brings us closer to our creator, but in reality, it rarely happens for whatever reason, right? So that have to do with some of this, and hopefully we can change that. Anyway, so in terms of basically the course, you will have the in-class sessions and you have the assessment, the examination, right? So you have mainly statics and something plus is just like that. Suddenly you have the courses come in, and that's the additional part. And then in terms of assessment, you have quiz, midterm, and final. Right? So basically, most of these are dealing with the knowledge of statics and whatever additional things is on the virtual part. Right? This is what I'm going to implement. If you have some of your singing, I think the way I did it is quite different. I experimented a bit, where this virtue I also put here. But many students cry and angry and something. I want to study static, I don't want to study religion. Right? So anyway, so that's what we'll go through. Now, several things as a reminder before we go into the subject itself, right? This again is a virtual part. Begin with the end in mind. How many of you are familiar with this? Begin with the end in mind. Have you heard of this before? In Malay, right? Mula dengan, I'm not sure how to translate it. You haven't heard of this? No one? Have you ever, anyone of you have ever heard of 7 Habits? Oh, tak juga. Alright, so there's a group. Okay, anyone who read books outside of your course, meaning outside of your, and then the end book that you will not be having exam on. Do you read books? Not novel, book. How to be good, whatever, I don't know. Basically, there's a book by Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of, what is it, highly effective people or successful people, something like that. So basically, he did a research to study what are the great successful people in the world. What's the common thing? And he concluded there's a 7 habits that all of them have. One of it is this, meaning before they start anything, they already know what in the end they want. Meaning when you start to take the course, what do you want actually? You want a certain grade, you want to understand it, or what, right? Because that will guide you how you maneuver throughout the journey, right? If you don't have this, then throughout the journey you don't have any direction, and in the end you will get whatever minimum that you can get normally, right? So this is something that you should have in anything you do actually, not just in this course, right? So we'll start with this one before we go into the subject. The big picture of our life, right? We started here. Any of you remember this time? No. And then we are here right now, right? Living on this earth, and one day, is it clear the thing? Oh. Okay. Hopefully this is better. Of course, this is not a true representation of Malaikat Maut. But you will be called one day to leave this earth, and then there will be judgment day, and there will be an eternity whether there or there, right? And the big question of this whole big picture is, where do you want to end up? In, right? In there, right? Now, is this question important? Any of you who have not decided yet? So hopefully you have your answer locked in. But how strong your answer is here will affect how you deal with anything here, right? Now, are you familiar with this ayat? Ya ayyuhallazina amanu tadkhulu fi silmi kaffah wa la tattabi'u khutuwati syaitan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. Right? So the instruction here is to enter into Islam totally as a whole, right? Now, going more specific as you as a student, right? Now, if everything that I've just shown just now is clear, right? My answer in the end is clear. And normally we have that answer, right? No one have any ambiguity where they want to end up with, right? But in reality, the question is this: how come many students, while they do this, they pray, but they still cheat on the exam? Is there ever happened, or you have never? No? I think you have. Do you know the case of student that cheat in the exam? You tak pernah dengar? Itu tak besar. But the thing is, okay, does this relate to what I have shown before? So the question is to me is, how come someone who think that he want to end up in heaven, but at the same time his action does not necessarily go in that direction, right? So this is some of the things that the academic affair want us to just warn you about. Okay, just now is about the thing that only Allah will judge you on, basically, right? But this one is what happen if you are caught in the system here, right? Because the final student, this is 2 years back, he got terminated because he was caught cheating in the exam. Yeah, so he's already final year. In the exam, one of the exam, in the examination, I'm not sure what he bring, a phone or something. Someone called him and he got terminated, right? So already 4 years goes by and then he finishes with nothing, right? Now, my question to you is this: what if the student was not caught? This might be happily working with his degree, right? No? Now, so to me, the most important thing is not this, because this is if the lecturer catch you, right? But I think the most important thing is this one, right? The bigger picture is you are entering as a student, hopefully, inshallah, because normally the convocation is this is the main thing, right? You just want to throw the hat, right? The rest is just, I think, and also take picture, because the rest of the ceremony is just one lengthy, tiring. Have you ever go into the ceremony of convocation? Have you ever sit down to a meeting in the hall? For example, your brother or sister? Is it good or so boring? So boring, right? So, and also actually if you ask them what they receive, it's actually empty. They have to go to the office to collect the actual one. That's just for picture, right? So the whole thing is just for picture actually. So that's why, but mostly we want, otherwise our Facebook and Instagram do not have picture, right? So we want to post. But some students that do not have that side of life, right? They just go to the office and collect the certificate. They do not want to spend too much time there, right? But anyway, we want this. Why? Because we will work to support our family, which only look at the handphone during dinner. So the thing is, what if you cheat during exam and to get your certificate later? Right? Does it affect all of this food or something? Right? And does it affect when you die and work here? Right? So I think the more important thing is this thing, right? Because you can easily cheat and avoid being caught actually in this life, but this thing you cannot avoid the consequences. So hopefully, whatever you do, this is in mind, right? Okay, second, I think this is more popular among in Malaysia, right? Fail to plan is plan to fail, ataupun gagal merancang ialah merancang untuk gagal, right? Are you familiar with this? So what do you do? Have you already planned for your 4 years here? Oh no, tengok dulu. Have you any plan what to do starting from first semester, the first week until 14 weeks? You have 14 weeks, right? Is it long or short? Oh, long. Eh? I think when you enter week number 10, 11, you will realize it's quite short for what you want to cover, especially if you have ambition to score a good grade. Right? Now, this analogy, are you familiar with this? where basically this have the same thing, but if you put the sand first and then the smaller rocks, the bigger rocks you cannot fill in. But if you put the big rock first and then the smaller rocks and the sand, actually everything can fit in. Have you seen this analogy? I don't have the opportunity to bring the actual thing, right? But you can try. Right. So the analogies point out that your time is limited, 24 hours, right? If you put everything important first, and then you put the smaller things, and then you put the insignificant things. Actually, you can do everything. But our problem is normally we start to do the insignificant, not important things first. You realize in the end you cannot put some of the big things, right? And that tends to happen for most of us, right? So this is a big precaution for any of you that, especially you are not yet familiar with quite a total independent life. I'm not sure. All of you are from CFS? Anyone from not from CFS? Direct intake? You are from? Diploma. When did you finish? 1 year ago? This year? Okay. So I'm assuming Polytechnic is quite independent, is it? Or is it still like, because I think SCFS is still like school where you have, meaning you are forced to have a prep or something, is it like that or not? No, you don't have prep. But you have, or meaning you don't have to study at night. Oh, so what do you do? Did you study or not? Right, because some students that come from, okay, this is my experience. Okay, how many of you from boarding school? Asama Penuh? Not many, but half of you. Now, when I entered Uniten just now, I mentioned to you, I was with the same, I live in the same house with most of them from Kisah, from meaning the boarding school, right? I noticed something. Some of those who live throughout their life being someone else think about their schedule for them, schedule for learning, right? So suddenly when they are totally free, they become, they cannot control themselves, especially when you have friends that promotes the internet gaming, etc. Right? So there's a lot of things that can really make you spend a lot of time there, and then suddenly some of them fail, right? Even though they're high achiever in SPM, right? So I noticed there are some of the trend tend to happen, and I will show you what is the result of this course later, right? And I really hope that from the beginning you have a clear objective what you want and plan accordingly, right? This actually means that if you want to have fun, etc., you actually can fit in your time, but make sure the important things is settled first, right? So the big question is, what is the bedrocks in my life, right? Now, for those who also have the virtue part as a bedrock, then it's more complicated to arrange your time. Especially if you compare to your friends who don't have any virtue. I'm not sure if you understand this, right? Because if you want to study Quran, etc., the opportunity here is quite a lot. It's just that whether you think that is a big rock or something not important, etc. But if you want that, then your life, how you schedule your life will be more significant and important, right? Okay, in terms of attendance, there are several things that I have to show you. So let's. Oh, is it? Let's. Okay, so let's go to the first document. Okay, so this is basically the regulation about attendance. Okay, now we'll just focus on several things that have direct implication on your grade. Monitoring of attendance should be done from the first class. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, now the thing is like this. Personally, I do not really care that much about your attendance. As long as you understand That's good. Meaning because some of the students actually have covered some of the portion of this course before, so you might have better things to do with this time, etc., etc. So, and also I have put, you can see I recorded, etc. So there are other ways to get to know the subject. But I also have to enforce the policy of this university, which is attendance is compulsory. Right. So as a worker here, I have to do that. And some consequences, right? Okay, now you can see here. You can only take your exam if you fulfill 80% of your attendance. Meaning that if you are absent more than 20%, you cannot take the exam. Now we have 14 weeks. Rough calculation, we have 14 weeks to twice a week class, right? Meaning roughly 28. Right? So if you round out to 30, yeah? For 30 class or 30 sessions, if you 20% is 6, right? Meaning if you miss 3 class, you miss 10%. If you miss 6 class, you miss 20%. Right? So if that is on the record, then you are barred from taking the exam. Now the process is like this. When you miss 10%, hopefully none of you, but if you miss 10%, I have to issue you a warning letter. And we'll show the warning letter after this. And then if you miss 20%, then you will be barred. Right? Now, I have to stress you something from the beginning. Hopefully it's to remember until the end, because normally this case only happens towards the end. Now, for some students, at a certain point, they already know they will fail. Hopefully none of you, but this tends to happen every semester. Meaning, your quiz is totally meaning, yeah, your quiz, your midterm, and then you know you cannot catch up, and you know you will fail. Not you, but okay, some student, right? And with that, normally he sometimes decide not to come to class because there's no point to come to class anymore, right? But there's a difference between fail and being barred. If you get this letter, you will not get F, you get Y or something. And in your transcript, it's different. If you get F, it means you fail, meaning your intellectual level or whatever you fail, right? But if you get Y or B, means you have an attitude problem. So for those company that want to see your performance, this is worse than fail. Hope you understand that, because even if you know you will fail, either you drop the course, then it's dropped. But if you do not drop, because after a certain point you have to pay quite a lot of money to withdraw. Not everyone has money there, right? So if you are still registered, make sure you just come for the attendance. Otherwise, you have this in your transcript and it becomes quite bad for your transcript. Everyone understand? Alright. Because it happened several times before and the students do not know what's the implication, so hopefully you understand that. Okay, second is, this is just to have a look at the sample of the letter, right? So the name and metric and you will be there if you receive this letter, and then it is the same. This is to warn you that you have missed 10% of your class. If you fail to make 80%, you cannot take the exam and you will get Y here, right? And then the best thing about this letter is it actually sent to your parents. So anak tuan-puan tidak menghadirkan diri di kelas, right? Hopefully, okay. I assume most of you do not want this letter to go to your parents lah. Actually, saya dah lama tak tahu soal parents. Bagi jelas sebenarnya. So, kau nak try boleh. Tapi hopefully you don't have this one. Jangan menghancurkan hati you apa. Dia kata mak saya tak faham bahasa Melayu. But anyway, so and in terms of the barring is just something like this. We get to inform you that we decided to bar you, blah blah blah. Right. So hopefully you will not see any of this. This is just to show the implication of attendance. Any question before I move forward? Everyone understand about the attendance policy? Alright. Apa ni? Okay. Okay. No, selingan. Now, in terms of the textbook, this is the textbook that is being used as a reference. So the slide will be based on this one, and the exercises will be based on this one, and the question sometimes in the final exam also be based on this one, right? In terms of whether you need to have it or not, in a way it's not compulsory because we do not have any way to make it compulsory anyway. And in terms of the lecture, it's mostly we will just cover the slides, and we also upload the slide on iTalink also. By the way, have you already have your access on iTalink? No? Yes? You can access? Have you seen anything for this course? No, it's still empty? Ke yang tak masuk? Betul ke empty? Nanti dah masuk? When did you? Static? Mate, you have login? Kosong eh? Langsung tak ada? I think I put something there. Tu tak tempat lain? So we'll check that. Anyway, so the slide will be posted on iTalink inshallah. After this I will put it. And however, it will be beneficial for you to go through the example and also question, right? Okay, course outline. Alright, okay, this is an old course outline. I haven't updated it yet. Because we have set the date for you. Okay, just some of the main important point. Okay, this is an old one. This is an old course one. So we have MACH 1301. What else? Okay. Now, each course that you take have its own objective and learning outcome, right? And the assessment that we do should actually test on whether you achieve this objective or not. Now, if I just go through it here, right? Objective to present the fundamental law. Okay, learning outcome. Now, in this case, there's 5 learning outcomes. First, draw free body diagram. Second, identify force and moment, the body experience. Identify the correct method and equation. Analyze simple structure, frame and machine, and then compute. Now, I have to emphasize here that when one of the objectives or learning outcome is draw free body diagram, just the drawing itself will have a quite huge mark in your assessment. So do not be surprised if your calculation is correct, but you do not draw properly, you still lose a lot of marks. Because that's one of the things that you want to see whether you can do or not. Even if your final answer, the number is correct, but the objective include can you draw it correctly, right? So the drawing itself have a huge mark there. So make sure you understand that so that you will not, because many students, they think that only the final answer matters, right, for the mark. But no, every of these steps, if you do not write even the equation, then we do not know whether you fulfill the correct equation or not, etc. Alright. Okay, we'll cover this one after this. I'll post on this on iTalink inshallah after we did some correction. But in the first 2 weeks, we should already cover chapter 1 and chapter 2. And fortunately for you, because this semester, interestingly, we have yesterday on Monday we have holiday. Next week also Monday on holiday, right? So the class that have Monday have how to catch up with the 2 missing class, right? So I have 1 class on Monday. But anyway, so basically we'll have, okay, this is the old one. So I'll just give you a tentative date for the midterm. We will confirm this in the next class. But for now, the lecture set it, hopefully it will be on 20. Okay, it's just a range. It's basically between 21 and 23 of October. So it's before your break, before your mid-semester break. You will have your midterm. And normally your midterm will cover until chapter 4. Right, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so I'll confirm the actual date in the next class of me, inshallah. Okay, in terms of mark distribution, the final exam will give you 50%, midterm 50%, quiz 20%. Okay. Now, do you know the passing mark? What is the passing mark? Do you know? 50. Meaning that anything less than 50, you have to repeat the subject. Right? The final exam is quite significant. If you get 0 here, then it's quite hard to pass. Right? For example. Now, let me see. Okay. Now, some things. Final exam, obviously it will be centralized. Everyone have this final exam with the centralized schedule. Midterm exam is depend on the course, and statistics have a lot of sections. Right. Normally we have a centralized midterm. I think this semester we haven't decided, but normally we do centralized, meaning that every section have the same question and will be evaluated same. But quizzes is based on each class, meaning based on the lecture. Different lecturers have different style of doing quiz. Right. So my approach, quiz is more to assessment for learning than assessment of learning. I'm not sure. Do you understand that or not? Okay. If I say assessment of learning, meaning I assess how much you have learned. You understand that? Saya assess berapa banyak you dah belajar. Belajar ke tak ni. But assessment for learning is, the assessment itself is kena belajar lagi lah. I mean, it become the trigger for you to, oh, I need to learn more, something like that. The purpose is different. Based on this, the quiz will be different. If assessment of learning, I just test. Okay. So meaning that there's no such thing of easy quiz lah, or 3 mark. Because the purpose is, kalau bagi easy mark, tak payah belajar. So purpose dia nak bagi, mak kena belajar banyak lagi. So that you will find the quiz will not be. It's very hard to find easy quiz in my section lah. So ada masa lagi untuk tukar section, insyaAllah. The marking will not be linear. Alah, 3 titik je sir. Nasib macam macam tu lah. And the approach is, okay. Faham ke ni? Makeup ni. Bukan quiz, pakai makeup. And then if you miss any quiz, there's no makeup quiz. And if this doesn't have, oh, it's not strong anymore. Let hit in penalty mark, meaning when I collect the quiz, ajak sir, nanti sampai kat saya lewat 2 saat, tolak 2 markah, dia tu lah. Okay. Any question? Kenapa? Mungkin macam you memang dah bercerita-cerita nak hantar lambat. Hantar je lah. Kau macam tu Macam, kalau penzina kena ada jam. Allah. Kau pasal kau nak disturb lah, macam kau nak buat. And okay, this one normally, okay, because I haven't updated the slide. Normally, my stand is I don't necessarily need to announce the quiz. Saya nak buat quiz lah, saya buat lah. But okay, my question is can you accept that or no? You need to be informed. Okay, last semester my information is this. Because in the last semester, I did like 14 quiz. So my statement is every week confirm ada quiz. So either Tuesday or Thursday je lah. Prepare je lah. But okay, we will discuss a bit on what will happen for this semester because I have to change a bit on my approach to the quiz because Okay, there's a reason why I did a lot of quiz. The way I do it is because previously when I did like 13 to 14 quiz, basically one thing is you will be quizzed on every subject, basically every item, right? Second, I will take the best 8 mark, 8 from 14, right? So you have a buffer of 6 of not so good quiz, right? Third, because I don't have any makeup quiz, so at least when I have a lot of quiz like that, then if you miss one, you still have time to recover. If I just do 5 and then you miss one, then the percentage is bigger like that, right? So purposely, from my perspective, is to help the student. But students still not happy, so that's why we will have to decide for this semester whether we want to just do 5, etc. Right? But you have to understand also the consequences, but it's still up to you, right? Okay, ini motivasi lah, motivasi ni. Don't be afraid to fail. It's just first attempt beginning, right? Hopefully none of you, but I'm not sure. Some students have to do into the second attempt before you understand the subject, perhaps, right? Now, we will go into what this course requires, and because there are certain things that we assume you already know or understand, and just know right now you just have to apply, and we'll just teach what after that, right? So it becomes an issue when you come and you actually have not understand that thing yet, for example, right? So we'll cover something on that. Now, in terms of repeat, aku banyak cakap mengenai negatif. Okay, you already know it's 50%. Okay, there's one more regulation that only started this semester. Lucky for you. This regulation only for the lecture also we will just brief on this last week or last 2 weeks. Before this semester, this regulation is not yet in place. You need to pass your final exam in order to pass the subject. Okay, before, if you get a good carry mark, even if your final is bad, as a total, if you get 50%, then you pass. Now, whatever you carry mark, if you fail your final exam, you still fail. Meaning if you carry mark full, your final exam you fail, you still fail. This is new regulation. Not by me, this is, you ask the dean. Right? So, you have to pass your final exam also. Semua dah cerita-cerita tak nak pass it. So, make sure you are prepared for the final. Okay, I will remind you if you forgot. I will try to post all the final exam question of the previous semesters on iTalim, so that because final exam cover all the chapters, so that you can still, meaning when you cover any chapter, you can bring, and if you think what I teach still do not prepare how to answer the type of question that comes in the final exam, we can discuss straight away. Because sometimes some students think, okay, this is some reality. The lecture only is whatever number of hour in 1 week, and for a lot of material that we have to cover, it only touch on some example. We give you the theory and some example. And normally the example is just to show you how to apply the theory. So normally it's the easiest of the easiest question. The question we will cover in the class normally is the easiest question. Some student is fooled by that question. I can answer this, then he think he can answer the final. When the final, the question is totally much more difficult, right? So do not assume that if you can answer the whatever we teach in class, you can answer. You have to actually spend some time to do some other question in the book to see what type of actual question that can come up, right? So make sure you have that in mind. So that's why I think before I haven't done this, but I think this semester I want to also from the beginning you can see the final exam type of question, so that when we cover chapter 2, 3, 4, you can still see how the question can be different from what we teach, and if you have a question you can ask straight away. But remind me because sometimes I forgot to upload. Alright? Hence you need to pass, you get 50% also in your final exam. Right? And okay, in the final exam also there's this thing. You please never plan to cram everything in the last minute. Because in the final exam you do not only have this subject, you have other subject also, right? And sometimes when everything is in the final weeks, then it's very hard to cope. So do not procrastinate. Make sure if you have any question, ask right away. Do not think, oh tak apalah nantilah tanya. Right? Because then nantilah, repeat lah, macam tu jadi. So just ask, right? I'm not sure. Okay, how many of you have the tendency to ask questions in the class? Because I think I'm not sure is it Malay thing or what, but we tend to tanya kau menyusahkan cikgu. Tak tanya lah, menyusahkan diri sendiri lah kan. Saya feel tak apa, cikgu tak nak tahu macam tu. So make sure you do not have that kind of attitude, right? We want to help, and okay, this is another thing that very interesting that I see especially in tutorial or even in class, right? For example, if I ask you, okay, try this question, right? And you try, right? When I walk around, normally when I go close to any student, they tend to hide their paper. Why do you do that? Okay, do you know what is the intention for me to look? Normally I want to help, right? Is there any problem and anyone I want help, right? Because if I see any problem, I can suggest something, right? But normally the student don't help, I don't know. So I don't know why. No one wants to help. So if you want to learn more, it's best if any of your weakness, etc., is found early, because it will be found anyway. The worst case scenario is in the exam, right? Then all the weaknesses appear there, then you have to be teacher, right? But if it's found early, then you can rectify, and it becomes your strength. Lesson learned. Now, this is my theory. Several slides after this is my theory. You can comment whether you agree or not, right? My hypothesis is students normally will only learn when several things are in place. Okay, before that, wait, what's the time? Okay, we are almost 9. Okay, I think in the schedule, right, it's 8 to 9, and then for one section it's 9 to 10 on Thursday, one is on Tuesday, right? Okay, how many of you are from section 3? Where meaning 9 to 10 is today, right? How many of you from section 4? Where your 9 to 10 is on Thursday, right? Now my question to you is, for 9 to 10, for meaning if your 9 to 10 is today, on Thursday do you have anything there? At 9 to 10 or is free? For those who are from section 4, for example, because 9 to 10 today, are you in your schedule you have something or it's actually free? Ada something, you have class? No. My question is, okay, the thing is like this, because I want to structure the course like this. Okay, 2 semesters back, because the material that we have to cover, normally in order to cover we need 3 hours per week of lecture, right? So normally before we have 1.5 hour and 1.5 hour, making it 3 hour a week. Okay. Before that, when I started here before I go for my PhD, 2009 or something, we have 3 hours lecture and 1 hour tutorial. Okay, so in your schedule you have 4 hours. However, there's a problem with the regulator, etc., because they say your credit hour is 3, so you cannot force the student to attend 4 hours. It's against the rule, right? Meaning we are forcing you more than you are obliged to. So the only thing that can be made compulsory is 3 hours. So that's why after that it becomes 3 hours of lecture only. There's no tutorial in the class and in the schedule. And we found out the student result going down because they don't have any when you have tutorial, normally you have to, meaning we have practice question, because in the lecture we mostly have the theory. We don't have, we just want one or two of exercise. In tutorial we trash out the exercises, right? But without that, then we expect the student to be independent, they do the exercise on their own. But most students do not do that. So in the final or in the exam, the student will struggle, because this subject, just understand the concept, you will not be able to answer the calculation, right? So in the last semester they changed, okay, we have to put back the tutorial, so that 9 to 10 is actually the tutorial time. However, because I only have 3 hours, so they changed it, the lecture become 2 hours, and the other hour is tutorial. But from the lecturer side, we struggle a bit because the content does not reduce. The content that normally we have to come 3 hours, now we have to come 2 hours. So what happened in last semester, because it's straight away, class and tutorial combined straight away, and all of the students do not have anything at that time. So sometimes my class actually become 1 hour half or 1 hour 20, meaning dia terlajak sikit. And then after that, for tutorial, for those who want to go back, you can go back. For one to stay, you can stay. But the lecture is not just 1 hour. It tend to. So that's why I asked, if you do not have any class on Tuesday 9 to 10 or Thursday 9 to 10, then that's okay. If my time actually exceed 1 hour. But if you have class, then I have to do something else. So I just want to make sure no one have class at 9. Betul? Confirm? Alright. Okay. Will not. Ada. You have now today or no? So not right now you have. Alright. For any others? Because if you have class, you have to leave now, right? Okay. So for this one, you just ask your friend where, because I'll show where the recording is after this. So you ask your friend where to get this for. Because there are some more important things that you need to know, so just see the recording inshallah. Alright? Any others? Alright, so play. So with that, I think you have to elect some timekeeper or something. Because the slide is designed after, not just a slide. Meaning every chapter is designed for 1.5 hour period, right? So I have to think of something then. Okay, for this question, which one do you pick on? Okay, is it expected for students in university to want to learn, or is it the task of the lecturer to make them want to learn? The first one or the second one? How many of you say the first one? How many of you say the second one? No, okay. Okay, this is something new because every semester I ask, normally they have some kind of boast, something like that. So you say, because meaning that you want to learn already, right? I don't need to motivate you. Betul ke tak? No, I'm asking because normally the way I teach is tailored towards this one, meaning, okay, you want to learn, I'll teach what you need to know. But for some students, please make me want to learn first. I don't want to learn. So that becomes, then we have to cover something else first, right? Ingatlah mak bapak kat kampung-kampung dia lah. Right? So if you say this one, okay, this is another thing. How many of you, okay, because we are asked in general, right? But how many of you want to learn statics? Okay, why? Because in this university you have some common course, right? Statics, meaning everyone have to take, regardless of whatever major you take. Like static, electrical, circuit, is it? Meaning even if you are doing biotech, you have to take circuit or statics, etc. Right? So that's the problem where it's not directly, meaning this particular subject is for mechanics, statics. So students that have nothing to do with mechanical, I think mechatronics have something to do because mechatronics is combination. But what else? Material or something, you don't even I don't know. But I think material is still the physical work, physical thing, so you can still read it. But because I think previously when you have biotech in my class, or meaning it's totally different world, so they do not have the interest. That's the problem. They do not want to study, and I have to remind you this. If the best case scenario is even if you do not like that subject, just pass in one go. Just make sure you pass lah. Because if you do not, then it will keep haunting you. Next semester you will come back and you still hate the subject, right? And do you know the regulation of if you fail 3 times the same subject? Tahu? You will be dismissed. And there are some students previous semester, they take for the 3rd semester, the 3rd time, and still fail, you are dismissed. So it's very unfortunate if you are dismissed for some subject that is not directly related to you anyway, right? So make sure, I think the best case scenario is you pass in the 1st semester, because your own subject, material or whatever, will become more harder in semester 2. And if this subject is still haunting you, then it will be not a good scenario, because then you have much more time to spend on that your course. But this thing, because if you want to pass, you still have to need a lot of practice. So make sure you settle this in this semester. Is it understood? Okay. I think we can see, this is my perspective from lecturer. I can see whether the student want to learn or not. Normally, ni perangai nak belajar ni. Belajar ni yang tak apa nak lah. You can see. Okay, my approach. Okay. I'm not talking about literally sleeping, but meaning yung macam how to wake up the student into realize that, oh, I need to work, not wake up. You understand? That's not literal sleeping and wake up. This is meaning in the semester he's not putting the effort, that's right, he's sleeping basically. How to wake him up to, oh, I need to actually put some time to. What's the best way, you think? Nah? Check. Tik. Udah kau cakap sama-sama. Macam ni ke kau nak kelas ni? Okay. Now, this is my hypothesis. He have to be tackled quite hard. Macam begini. Do you understand this analogy? Meaning that if jentik-jentik, dia tak bangun. So that's why the way I might will be like this. Do you understand the analogy? Semakin bukan jentik-jentik lah, silap ni. Memang silap kena tackle lah. Sabar habis mata. Okay kan? Okay. Now, so the meaning is the impact will be significant. You know significant? Ini bukan sekadar tolak 1, tolak 10, tolak macam tu lah. And it should be real. Maksudnya, kalau getak-getak tak buat, dia tak jadi. So saya memang akan buat lah. Then you think, oh, this is important. Now, every semester I tell you, I tell the student, normally no one object in the briefing. But normally towards the end of the semester, they object. Kenapa sir begini sir? Macam tu lah. Because some students actually thought that I'm just talk to make you scared. Getak je kan. Itu kena betul-betul. So from the beginning, now my whatever I do, normally I have some reasoning. Okay, I'll tell you what is the reasoning behind whatever kind of marking I will do, right? Now, but I'm open to any reasoning. If it's logical, I can change the approach. Do you understand that? As long as you have a reason lah. Now, so do not think that just because I say something, I will not change. But the issue is, if you don't give any reason why I should reconsider, then I don't know why I should reconsider lah. So if you just talk at the back, because that's normally what we do, we talk among ourselves, kenapa lah lecturing macam tu kan, it will not change anything. You just give some feedback. So sepatutnya whatever it is, consider lah kita orang ni nak jaga anak isteri lagi lah benda seribu berapa kan. So I can consider, right? Alright, now mathematics. How many of you love mathematics? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, mechanics again. This course is about mechanics statics. It is not about mathematics. However, mathematics is fundamental thing that we do use a lot in our calculation. So, the underlying assumption is this one you have learned before, right? Whatever this is, you have learned before. You come here, you just apply for the concept of engineering in mechanics statics. The issue is some students actually struggle with this thing, especially if you do not like mathematics. After that previous exam, they already empty, recycle bin or whatever, they delete everything. So you will struggle in this course if you do that, because for example, integration, right, or whatever. We just expect you just know. It's just use. You don't need to learn anything. But if you already forgot integration was that, then make sure you relearn that back again before next week. Because we will like trigonometry, etc. Right? Now, okay, just an example, right? What is the horizontal component of F1 and F3? Can you get it? Have you done this before? Do anyone have any problem to deal with this 30 degrees, this 3, 4, 5? Do you want to try or something? My proposal is, do you think you have any problem or not? Just to complete this. You have problem? How many of you? Okay, if you have, because we will not teach you this, because we thought that in your secondary school or your CFS you already covered this. Have you covered this? That's right. So I'm just giving you the reality here. The course is designed as to use this and further use in a more complex situation. The issue is many students, I realize, they do not even, okay, knowing how to do is one thing. That's to be able to learn statics. To be able to pass statics, you need to be able to do in the shortest time possible. Because the time in the exam is limited. If you do this kind of things take more than 2 minutes or 3 minutes, you will not have enough time to do final exam in order to pass, meaning to answer enough question. Right? For example, like this: express the integration equation to compute the area under the graph. Any problem? Yes. Okay. You have learned this before? You haven't? Ke ada yang apa benda ni? Okay, because I assume, okay, anyone kalau diploma tadi, you have covered these things? Mana? Oh belum. Tapi kena ambil math dekat sana. Ambil integration tak ada? Integration ada. Oh, tapi application dia just dia keluar integration jawab je lah. Okay. Okay, if you have this one, you can answer, right? And anyone have, okay, this one is already have the expression. Anyone have any problem? Ni jujur. Because if you struggle to do this, you have, because from the week 1 I will know already you pass of it, unless you resolve. Because we will not teach you this, but I have to if it's necessary. But because the course is just we apply this. It's like all of this is just like pressing your calculator. You understand? Meaning you don't need to teach how to use the calculator. You just use when you need to calculate something. So all of this is not statics. This is mathematics, but it will be used in statics a lot. So okay, I will do some survey after this. I thought about it because I really want to know, because before this, normally we know students struggle with all of this in a midterm. They totally flunk the midterm. But that's too late because you already lose the 30 marks. And at midterm, if you want to learn this, it's too late already because it's too much to catch up. Right? So make sure in these first 2 weeks, this one is covered. Right? Okay, in terms of my recording, there are several reasons I record all my session. Right? Now, okay, first where to find it. So if you search, this is my name, Saifuddin Rehan. It's under this one. This one is banyak gambar anak lah. It's under this one. And if you go to this channel, you go to this one. This is for this semester. Message 1301 statistics, semester 1. Of course, if you really want to be in advance, you want to see every lecture for previous semester, it's already also available. Kalau rajin lah. Because it's just the recording anyway. And okay, there's already 3 video that I have uploaded. One is trigonometry. If you have any problem with whatever sine, cosine, whatever I showed before, please take a look at this one to see whether you have any problem or not with whatever I covered there, because that is what is needed for statics. Right? How trigonometry will be needed in statics. Because I think if you have problem with this triangle, because static will deal with 3D, you know, 3 dimensional. If even 2D you have problem, then 3D is beyond problem. This one is on integration. Right, so take a look. This one, if you want to know what type of lecturer I am, because I cover is 1 hour. I cover every comment because okay, at the end of the semester, student need to rate the lecturer and give comment. So I read the comment, even I'm filtered it because some students say quite interesting thing, the worst lecturer ever, whatever. So I cover that for you to know in the beginning, so that if you need to change course, not change course. If you need to change section, you need to do it this week lah kot. Ya Allah, macam ni. So you want to do this, you can see that. Because I think it's only fair if you know. So macam lah saya cakap kan. Ya Allah, lecturer ni. Apalah. Tengok asli. Now, with relation to that, I do record all the but because this is recording and it goes to some place that can be accessed by public, so I need to also ask if there is any issue. Okay, normally it's just me, but sampai lambat tu nampak lah ni, sebab kelas tu masuk depan, so nampak muka dia kan, lambat. And any possibility kadang-kadang dia akan meaning whatever happen in your face might be there. So the issue is kok lah you lari dari bini ke apa dan dia tengah cari guru you, nanti you oh kat you ada punya ke apa. If you have any issue with being found or whatever, then you have to tell me lah, so that I will make sure that your face will never be captured, for example, accidentally or whatever. Right? Any problem generally? No. Alright. Okay, this is about. Okay, for you to excel in any subject, this process have to happen in your brain. From you don't know what's going on, and then it's processing, and then keluar lampunya kan. Now, when does this process occur? Now, I will tell you normally, this doesn't happen in the classroom. It normally happens when you do try solving problem. Because in the classroom, normally this doesn't happen. Dia macam, oh faham ke? I think I understand. Normally like that. Until tak faham punya masa exam. So normally when you do exercise, you normally have to process apa benda pula kan. Until you understand lah macam tu juga kan. Now the issue is in the normal classroom, for this to happen, after the class you have to go back and do some exercises. If you have tutorial, we have tutorial, right? So that's this concept of this traditional class, right? Normally you have a slide and books already. You attend the lecture, do the homework, and that process occur here. And for the most students, normally they do not do this a lot, right? That's the reality. So have you heard about flipped classroom? Nah. How many of you pernah dengar, have heard of flipped class? It flipped, meaning that you go to the lecture before come to class. Meaning I've uploaded all the lecture. For example, you go through the lecture, and then coming here is mainly problem solving. Meaning I don't understand this one. Can you help? Meaning it's more of interactive, and everyone has their own problem to solve, etc., etc. And then after that you can just apply. So in this scenario, that process happen in the classroom, and after the classroom you already dah ada lampu tu lah. Right? How many of you want to try this one? The issue with this is you need to go to the lecture before coming to class. Because if you don't, then you come here, you do not know what's going on. Benda kau buat ni. So your level of independence have to be quite high, because you have to actually cover the lecture carefully, and then you just come with the question. This one I understand, this one I don't understand, please help me, etc. Right? How many of you want to try this? Tak nak? Try. Now, okay, so semua tak nak. Okay, so this is different, right? Now, I'm explaining this one because actually for the Monday and Wednesday class section, I have to implement this because of they lose a lot of class, so we have to that one. So they have no choice. But I also ask here, if you want, then this is the best format lah. Because when in the class already you have covered the lecture, and we can straight away go where is the problem that you don't understand, etc. etc. But anyway, right, because this one happened after class, but normally this never happen, right? How many of you? Okay, how many of you already planned when and how many hours to revise each subject each week? Ke memang layan dulu kan? Kalau kena repeat nanti baru study seriously. So hopefully you have already in plan, right? Now, okay, with that, I hope you have a group of friends that's close to you that have a tendency to do the good things lah, in study lah. Because I think okay, let me tell you a story. Because we tend to be affected by the close surrounding, right? In Unit 10, every semester for the result is because that my student years is way back, so we don't have that much computer, right? So they put on your marks on the wall at the office. So when you go to office, you can see actually the reaction of many different people. I see one group of Chinese student macam kutuk apa in English. Because the one guy laughed at the others, right? You have only 3.5 and 3.7, something like that. And when I want to go out, so I was already surprised with that Chinese kid. He got 3.5, already being kutuk by the others. Tu kau ni 3.5 je. But when I go to the other Malay, 1.5 ke 1.7 kan? Macam the benchmark. Meaning, how can you laugh at your friend when you are 1.7 and because it's lower? Meaning, I think if you are within the pool of low achiever, then you tend to so make sure you have. If you go on the virtue part, right? I have this one friend tell me this story. He said he thought he was a good Muslim because every time the azan is on the masjid, he's already taken wudu, ready to go to the masjid. Right? He thought he's the best Muslim ever lah. But when he go to that university, he realized that when he take wudu during the azan, every of his roommate is already at the masjid during azan. So he said, "Oh, I'm not." So when you have good friends, you will realize that you are not that. Meaning the push on you is different, right? Because some other students have different experience. He wake up for subuh at 6:50. He believes he's the best because everyone else is still asleep, right? So if you are among those type of groups, then you think you're good when you are not that good, for example, right? So make sure, because I was fortunate that when I go to, because I don't even know, I don't have a big target for my study, but I happen to go into a group where they have a good study ethics, right? And because my first semester I got 3.5, something like that. I said, oh boleh je sebenarnya. And that was my lowest GPA lah. After that is more than 3.5. So when you are among that friend, then you see everyone can do, you think, I can do, right? But when you are, because some people, they have different, totally different. They say, it's impossible to get because everyone do not have. So have a good friend, it will help. Now, this level of independence, hopefully you are independent enough to decide what to do with your time. Okay, I will show you some of the numbers from the previous semester. Are you ready to see? This is semester 2 last year, which is the most recent. What is your opinion on this? The very huge majority is F. Okay, to pass is here, right? This is 50. This is not even 50, this is what, 20 only. Okay, so hopefully you understand the nature of the subject. The issue is, okay, so what is your opinion? Saya nak ke sini, paling tinggi. Bukannya paling tinggi. Now, so it's a big mistake if you dismiss any warning that I give you in the beginning, right? Because it's always like this, right? When I was a student, this is talking about something else, right? When I was a student, there's a senior that already work, right? He gave me that advice, right? Okay, when you are a student, it's the best time because you are free, the most free to memorize Quran, etc. Right? Because you say, when you work, you will find out that you have no time to look for that anymore. So whatever you have memorized, then that's the only one you carry until you die. Normally, right? Normally as a student, we have this opinion that mana dia tahu kita penat sibuknya. We think that we are so busy as well. What he says is just talk, right? Only when I graduated and I work, I realize what he says is true, and then I talk to the student, and the cycle continue. The student do not believe, and then only afterward, it's true then. So no one. So when I say in the beginning, what is important, you need to do exercise, etc. Many students just do not take it seriously and end up here, right? So unfortunately. But okay. This is the semester. I want to show the previous semester, semester 1 of last year, right? Actually, it is possible to get a lot of students here. Actually, it's just up to you. And I think this is where, if you have a good culture among you, meaning the competitive level, because on that section all are competitive here, right? And if you have a good competition where everyone set the pace there, it is actually possible to push yourself there, right? This section. So sometimes, hopefully this is a good section where everyone set the pace. Okay, in the short semester recently, I will visit to some students from UIA that do the internship in USM. I asked her, that's the guy, one person, guy and girl, what is your observation different from here? He said that there's a lot of Chinese students where they already set the pace, because they already set the pace here, right? And you have to compete. And that's the level of competition that do not exist here. I'm not sure how many of you have listened to your seniors say something like this. Engineering, normal lah, repeat. Ada pernah dengar benda tu? So, it is normal because everyone accept it to be normal. It can actually be changed, but everyone from the beginning, it's normal to repeat. So then the trend continue, because here there's no group that set the pace on the other side. And okay, another story. In Unit 10, there's one Chinese guy that we like to because the class is like this. If you want to end, it's here. So as long as I'm still giving the lecture, you cannot escape. If it's at the back, then you can sneak out, right? And this Chinese guy always sit here. After, okay, any question? He keep us a lot of questions. And his CGPA is like 3.8 something. Right? And we say, dah pandai tu cukup lah kan. And suddenly, in one subject, I was destined to have him as a group project. So I went to his house, we study something lah. And then I realized, because I become frustrated with him because he's too slow. Jom next. No, I still have to understand. I only realized then that he is a slow student that have to put like ton of time to understand something. And then I realized he succeed because his effort. Because normally we have the complaint, dia tak pandai or whatever. We don't see the behind the scene where he put the time or whatever, right? So I think actually we have to meet those kind of people to know that some people actually get where they are because of their effort, not just some DND or something. So it's actually possible to get, and hopefully I hope this section will no. Okay, by the way, do you know this W? Yeah, this is withdraw. Right? Some students have the money to withdraw at the end, right? Because they do not want their transcript to have any bad grades. And so they just pay the money to just withdraw. Okay, the road is too late. Okay, these are the things that normally I will just say from the beginning. I do not have the ability to entertain. If you come at the end, sir, boleh tak bagi some extra assignment ke apa, bagi tambah makan? Jawapan saya next semester je lah. Betul lah next semester. Faham ke? Because, okay, this is, okay, hopefully you can understand, okay, this one is harder to explain because if you ask the lecturer what's the workload that they have, and what is the expectation from the university to the lecturer, this all teaching, etc., marking exam, etc., is only 1/8 of the workload. You understand? It's 1/8. Meaning we are expected to do a lot more. We have to do research, publish papers, etc., etc. So we actually, if to able to do all of that, our time is very limited for you actually. So to entertain some things like this, it's not like I don't want simply because I just want to be the evil lecturer or whatever. But it's quite difficult because my first 2 years I try to be very accommodative. I accommodate everything. For example, anyone cannot come to the quiz, I make up quiz, etc. But my life become miserable because I cannot handle all of those when there are many other expectations from the university. Right? If you want to change like this, then that's of course impossible. If you ask, masuk apa exam saya? Aku tak ingat dah masuk exam. Alright, benda ni semuanya. Okay, I will end with this because you are first year student. So just some story of, actually I believe all of you have great potential if you fulfill, right? Are you familiar with this guy? No. He's quite young guy. Are you familiar with his company, Alpha Travel? Ada pernah dengar? Tak dengar? Okay, he with some other friends create this company, right? And dia punya revenue masa tu 35 juta setahun. Ini untuk tahun ini. And then, okay, ini punya company lah. Now, this is one of many example, right? But why I'm doing this one, because I'm close friend with many of these guys lah. And they won this entrepreneur in 2000. They become one of the top 50 company in Malaysia. They target 100 juta. Okay. And if you see, all of their team, the company is all youngsters. Meaning that young people can actually achieve great things if you know what to do and you actually really struggle to do it lah. This is your office baru. So this is quite an example of, quite interesting example of many examples where gaya pun gaya orang muda je lah. Yang baru ni kan. right? This is one of his office, etc. Right? So you can follow this guy in Facebook, etc. Right? So this is one of the example of. There are other example that is not as big, but many of them study engineer abroad, right? Some of them, this is my friend in France. This also, no, this is Australia. I think because I'm not sure is this a Malay thing or what. We tend to have this reaction like this. Siapalah aku? You understand? Meaning when we ask, can you do big things, and who am I to do something like this? But I think there's a lot of students, even because if you see this kind of thing, guys, their lifestyle doesn't make you think they are rich. I have another guy who established the company Clean Hero. I'm not sure they cleaning carpet or whatever. When we talked, I think 2 years back, suddenly he asked about GST. Then someone asked, isn't GST need to be paid only of those who have made 500,000 and above? Itu memang, so memang itulah pendapatan dia. So you can see, but dia punya life, if you see the company side, you do not expect he is making that much money. So there's a lot of youngsters out there that have shown that it's possible to achieve great things. Hopefully you follow those kind of things and see what they do, and hopefully from now, because most of them have tried whatever they want to do afterwards in their life, in their daily time. Right? One of my friends there, he actually electrical engineer, I think. But throughout his 4 years in France, he already have some companies that he do without having that much. Meaning he always says like this. When our friend says, macam mana nak berniaga ya? Tak ada modal gitu. Buatlah buatlah company yang modal zero. Because he has many set up companies that the modal zero, tapi untungnya. Nak belajar, kena sembang dia lah. Anyway, so okay, these are some of the comments, a lot of comments here, but I think it's already too late for this class. So but I already covered that in the video there. You can view if you want to see what the student comment about me. Alright, any question? It's already about 10. So several things that we have to decide. Normally before, like I mentioned, there's a lot of quiz. I normally do quiz like this. Normally it's at the beginning of the class. So, but after, I think one student says that before that we have some of the class. Maybe for it it's not related. So I start, for example, if the official class time is 8:05, I start the quiz, and until like 8:20 or something, depending on the length of the quiz. So for those who enter late, then the time of the quiz is whatever the remaining lah. And then I collect the quiz. So and then it's the class start, right? So 2 things. How many quiz do you want? And the implementation like that, is it okay? Okay, is there any problem to have the quiz at the beginning of the class? Because I think one of the comments, if you see the video, my student want the quiz to be at the end. Because he says some students came out late or whatever, so I wait. Now, my rationale to do it at the beginning is so that the quiz is settled, then because the quiz is easy to regulate the time, but the lecture sometimes it depends on what we cover. So if it's at the end, I think it's more risky that dilacak masa ke benda lah. So that's my reason. But anyway, I'm open for any discussion. So any issue with quiz at the beginning of the class? No? How many quiz do you want in the semester? In the 14 weeks? Okay, the minimum is 5. The maximum is 14. The ratio that I will take is like this. If we have 5 quiz, I will take best 4 out of 5. If it's like 12 to 14 like that, I will take 8 out of that. Now, the difference is yang ni lagi banyak chance untuk tak berapa perform lah, because you have more number of quiz that will not be counted. This one, but from some students is, if this only 4, I just score 4, then I get the best grade here. Here you have close to 8. So there's 2 ways to look at it. So I'm not sure about you. So what's your what do you want? Tak nak quiz? Okay, now some students before complain about the quiz, right? In the previous lecture, my response is this: quiz is not compulsory. If you do not want to take the quiz, you don't need to. Tapi kosong nama kau. I will not force you. You have to take quiz. If you say I don't want to take the quiz, you can. But the 20 marks from quiz lah. Sebab I tak nak stress, tak nak ambil quiz. So, kau tak suka merespon tu kan? How to? So, up to me or what? What does this mean? Up to me, so whenever I want to do quiz, I just do quiz. No, huh? No. So, how? 11. Oh, you have. So, kau tak pilih je lah. So, you don't like to make a decision or something? Just to make sure, because one thing that I haven't covered today is the attire regulation, the regulation on your attire. But they have told you about what's meaning. Everyone understand about the attire? Meaning you cannot come with sandal or whatever. That's understood? Alright? Because I haven't covered that one, so I'll just assume you understand that one. Alright, so you want nak pegang pelan ni tapi just up to me. Alright, so everyone agree like that? If it's up to me, then whenever I say, whenever I decide, then you just have to agree lah. Okay ke? Ini macam tak puas hati. Alright, any other question before we end? Okay, so we will cover inshallah chapter 1 and 2 on Thursday inshallah. Alright, so we haven't covered anything, so on Thursday we don't have quiz yet. So we cannot open it. Alright, this is a possibility, I'm not sure yet. But I might do some quiz, not a mark quiz, not the quiz that will go to the mark, but because your response made me question whether you meaning the basic integration or I just want to have some sense of where you are at. So that if I have the time, I will just prepare something that you will just go through to see is it problematic or no problem. Alright, with that we end the session inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.